What up, party people? What up, YouTube? Chef here, New Zealand Murder History Podcast, and check this one out. I got a pretty good show for you guys today. Put it together myself, and it's not suitable for children. Kids, click off. South Island sex worker murders 4. Who killed Lisa Blakie? This is a 2-part video. It's about the infamous Lisa Blakie murder, and in these videos, we're going to be looking at 2 main theories, neither of which are mine. The first is a Crown's theory that on the 2nd of February, year 2000, Timothy David Taylor killed Lisa Blakie in the Arthur's Pass, State Highway 73. More specifically, Porter's Pass, in some kind of sex murder robbery. But it's all the same road, Arthur's Pass. Anyway, the second theory comes from ex-detective Bridget McMiniman, and is regarded more likely by other people in New Zealand too, including Doug Blakie, Lisa's dad. And this theory goes as follows. Lisa was on the run from her boyfriend, Willie, from the Evil Henchman Gang, president of the Timaru chapter. The gang caught up with her in a white Bedford van somewhere east of Darfield in the Arthur's Pass, took her back to Timaru, where Lisa Blakie was murdered at their HQ. Street address I got off www.businesscheck.co.nz is 90 Meadows Road, Washdyke, Timaru, South Island. Now it's possible they had another HQ in the year 2000, but I believe the Washdyke address is correct. Lisa's body was then put in a chest freezer to throw off the time of death. Then she was taken back to the Arthur's Pass on the 5th or 6th of February 2000 in a move to distance themselves from the murder and possibly to stitch up Timothy David Taylor. Now, I just want to point out, I'm using Willie's nickname, not his real name, as it's not my job to accuse people of murder. That's not what this show is about. New Zealand Murder History Podcast is just for educational purposes, and I'm just taking a look at both of these theories from the information on the internet, as well as some newspaper articles I've read, plus following this case all these years on TV1 and TV3 News. My show is not suitable for children. Kids, click off. Anyone suffering from PTSD, also click off and seek support from your GP or call one of the many 0800 numbers available. We'll be discussing murder, sex assault, but I'm not certain if Lisa Blakie was or was not sex assaulted, drug use, and sex work. Anyway, let's take a look at some photos here. So, that's a photo of Lisa Blakie. And that's a better photo. Hang on, let's get it proper. There we go, that's a better shot. Yes, that's what she looked like. And here's a photo of the bloke who's in jail for her murder at the moment. That's Timothy David Taylor. He was recently recalled on a parole violation at the very start of this year for visiting sex workers in Manchester Street, which was something he was not allowed to do because he was convicted of murdering a sex worker. And sex work's legal in New Zealand, so yeah, it was just a parole condition that he broke. I think he's in Christchurch Men's. Anyway, back to it. You're watching New Zealand Murder History Podcast. Now, at first glance, you might think the South Island of New Zealand would be a safe place for sex workers. Well, you thought wrong. So who killed Lisa Blakie then? The South Island girl from Timaru who spent time in Greymouth. Yeah, she done a little underage hooking in her flat across the Grey River in Cobden to pay the bills and whatnot, before packing up and heading to Queenstown. And from what I'm reading, I don't blame her for leaving. Yeah, Lisa was trying to get off the game. She even got a job at the Super Value supermarket it was called at the time. And her ex-clients came in and hassled her on the checkout. Can you believe that? Her first day at Super Value would be her last. And any of you blokes who may be watching who done this to teenage Lisa Blakie? Because I know I've got some greymouth subs. Well, I hope you go to bed hating yourselves. You shouldn't be going to underage prostitutes anyway. I just feel the need to clarify that most blokes in Greymouth are not creepy weirdos, and I very much enjoyed my time living there. But yeah, anyway, if you're out and about with your girlfriend or your mum or something, and you see a sex worker you've employed the services of, she's not going to rock up and ask you if you want your dick sucked. I can't believe the Greymouth blokes treat her like that. No wonder Lisa Blakie ended up a total mess on the pills. She did try to clean up a bit, even enrolling back in school as an adult student at age 18 and telling the guidance counsellor about her plans to get off the game. But despite Lisa's best efforts, she would end up being employed as a classy escort at Candy's massage parlour in Queenstown. Now, first off, two things I wish to point out. She's no longer underage when she's working at Candy's, but this is back before the law changed legalising sex work in 2003. Now, back then, some parlours were in cahoots with gangs, occasionally calling on them for help. When girls were disrespected by clients, or, I don't know, perhaps there was a problem with the bill, stuff like that. For example, Killer Cobra's gang used to run K Road up in Auckland, and some people say still do to some extent. Well, anyway, Candy's massage parlour may have been run by a bloke who was also in the evil henchman gang, Timaru chapter. Lisa Blakie's murder probably has nothing to do with the job she had at Candy's, but she did cross them, so we'll discuss Candy's massage parlour later in the show, although there's very little information, to be honest. Anyway, in the next video I'm writing, I'm going to review an episode of Brian Bruce's show, The Investigator, who killed Lisa Blakie. So stay tuned for that one, because I'm going to unpack some of the inconsistencies with the Crown theory that Brian Bruce points out. But more than that, I just wish to bring attention to this case so that the people of New Zealand know what's going on. It's also important to say that I don't know exactly what's going on. When Lisa got murdered and Timothy David Taylor got done for this crime, well, I was a teenager myself, and I just thought the cops got the bad guy. Although I'm still not sure he didn't kill Lisa, there are plenty of people out there who say it wasn't Timothy David Taylor. The most prominent being Bridget McMiniman. And she's an ex-cop who worked on the Lisa Blakie case, or Operation Porter it was called by the police. Now, it's fairly standard to hear people say, "Oh, he didn't do it." But when the cops are saying he didn't do it, well, that makes me think. In fact, Bridget McMiniman is so sure the police got the wrong man that she quit the police force in disgust. Another article I read said another cop who didn't wish to be named also criticized the Lisa Blakie investigation, but I only read that in one stuff.co.nz article. When the cops involved are saying this guy's innocent, there should at least be an independent case review or something. And with the New Zealand Criminal Case Review Commission that just got set up here, well, that may just happen. Bridget McMiniman also wasn't stoked about the Kirsty Bentley investigation, but that's another story. So did Timothy David Taylor do it? Well, that's the big question that's pretty difficult to answer. First off, I'm a source reference this one and try to figure out from the information available to Joe Public on the internet who may have killed Lisa Blakie. And one more thing, I'm not naming any of the 3 gang members who are believed by some to have killed Lisa on my show. I'll only refer to them by their nicknames. Nor am I using their stupid gang name either. I may talk about some associates or other people involved in this case by name, but I'd prefer it if none of my viewers name them in my comments either. If this case ends up getting reinvestigated at some point, then naming the people who may have done this crime isn't at all helpful. Anyway, it's the evil henchman gang from Timaru. And if you want the proper name, you put a D at the front. There's also a Christchurch chapter of the Evil Henchman Gang, but in this episode, I'm referring to the Timaru chapter, unless stated otherwise. As some sources say, Lisa briefly dated their president. However, in court, he says he broke it off with her shortly before her death. But yeah, anyway, my show is not about accusing people of murder. It's just to bring attention to this case. And if I knew who murdered Lisa Blakie, I wouldn't make a YouTube video. I'd go tell the New Zealand police, and you should too. Alright, let's ref this one. Christchurch, press article. So, the newspaper is now just called The Press, but anyway. Killer back in prison after 13 visits to red light zone, written on the 12th of January 2022 by Sam Sherwood. So that was the paper I just showed you before, with the picture of Timothy David Taylor on it. Yeah, the red light zone or red light district referred to in this article is Manchester Street, inner city Christchurch. And for the record, that's the biggest red light district in the South Island, and also the most violent. I don't believe Lisa Blakie ever worked there. She may have done so, but I haven't read that in any of the articles I've read, so... Yeah, but anyway, this article is making reference to Timothy David Taylor being recalled to prison at the start of 2022 as he was caught breaching his parole conditions, going to sex workers. Yeah, so anyway, if you're interested in this article, I read the entire thing from start to finish in a previous video I made. So just have a look on my show and you'll find it. Now some websites I used. NZ Herald article, written 13th of June 2001. Evil henchman denies killing Lisa Blakie. Available on www.nzherald.co.nz. I'm actually going to read this whole article shortly, and there's some other ones too I'm a reference as I go. Plus I got the address off the Timaru HQ from website www.businesscheck.co.nz. Also, Otago Daily Times article, written on the 8th of December 2015, new suspect in Lisa Blakie murder case. Actually, it's just new suspect in Blakie murder case. Anyway, you can find that one on www.odt.co.nz. The next one can only be found on the Justice for Lisa Blakie Facebook page, and this one is a two Word documents, both posted by Bridget McMiniman on the 29th of January 2019. The first one's called Timeline 4, 28th of January to morning 30th of January. And the second Word document is Timeline 7, and that's Tuesday the 1st, Lisa leaves Timaru for Christchurch. Willie, Slippery, Queenstown Work/Fish, and Logan are looking for Lisa. So that's the name of the second Word document. Anyway, like I said, if you want to go to the Justice for Lisa Blakie Facebook page, that's where you can find these documents. And I'm going to read both of them in full at the end of this podcast. I also watched stuff.co.nz podcast called The Murder of Lisa Blakie, Lone Kill or Gang Hit. And that's the Long Read podcast, episode 39, by Martin Van Bainen. Available on youtube.com. Uploaded 12th of July 2022. As well as watching Brian Bruce documentaries, Who Killed Lisa Blakie, uploaded to youtube.com in 2021. But like I said before, I'm going to do an entire video on Brian Bruce's show in the future. The next article I'm going to read is from 3 News website, www.newshub.co.nz, written on the 9th of December 2015, and it's called DNA to be tested in Blakie case. So let's read it. A suspect in the 16-year-old Lisa Blakie murder case has agreed to provide a DNA sample after the current affairs show 3D highlighted he had fled to Australia to avoid the investigation. Another man is already serving a life sentence for the murder of Miss Blakie, whose body was dumped in the Canterbury High Country. 3 men in a white van were also linked to the murder. While 2 were cleared by police, the third was never tested. The man, a former Evil Henchman gang member, has now agreed to give a DNA sample from Australia. Investigators will check whether it matches a pubic hair found on Mrs. Blakie's body, which was never identified. End of article. Now, first of all, I just want to point out the murder case is 16 years old when the article was written. Lisa Blakie was 20 years old on the day she was killed. The way the article reads, when you talk it out loud, it sounds like it was saying Lisa was 16, but she wasn't. Anyway, another thing I'd just like to briefly point out is the fact that a pubic hair was found on her body sounds like she was sex assaulted, but I haven't read that the pathologist said that she definitely was. I just don't know. I don't have enough information. I mean, it sounds kind of sketchy to me, put it that way. Now let's read NZ Herald article written on the 13th of June 2001. Evil henchman denies killing Lisa Blakie. Available on www.nzherald.co.nz. A patched member of the Timaru Evil Henchman gang said yesterday he ended his relationship with Lisa Blakie shortly before her violent death, and after she had been to a party organised by the rival Road Nightmare gang. But Willie told the Christchurch District Court that he did not kill Miss Blakie, who was found strangled, stabbed, face down in the Porter River on February 6 last year. Willie was giving evidence in the deposition hearing of Timothy David Taylor, aged 31, who was accused of picking her up as she hitchhiked from Christchurch to Greymouth, February 2nd, then murdering her, motivated by sex and robbery. Miss Blakie's father, Doug Blakie, earlier told the court that on February the 1st he received a call from her in which she was crying and upset and said she had to get out of Timaru for her own safety. The previous night he overheard a heated telephone conversation between Miss Blakie and a man he took to be Willie. Mr. Blakie suggested taking her to the police, but she replied, "No, you can't, Dad. They know where you live." Instead, he drove her to a friend's home in Christchurch where she planned to travel to Greymouth to earn enough money to fly to Australia. Willie said he had associated with Miss Blakie for about 6 weeks before her murder, including spending a week with her in Queenstown. During that time, she had paid for him to stay in a hotel, partied with him when she was not working at the massage parlour. We were just sexual partners, not boyfriend and girlfriend, and we got on fine, he said. They had some minor disagreements, but their relationship faltered because she wanted them to be girlfriend and boyfriend. He learned that she attended a party in Timaru organised by the Road Nightmares, a rival gang to the Evil Henchmen, but he was not angered by it and instead thought the news was quite funny. On the day of her death, Willie said he was doing my housework, then attended an Evil Henchman club night in Timaru. Asked if he had anything to do with the death of Miss Blakie, he replied, "No, I did not." End of article. Well, so who killed Lisa Blakie? Well, it was either Timothy David Taylor acting alone, Timothy David Taylor and the Evil Henchman gang from Timaru, the Evil Henchman gang from Timaru acting independently of Taylor, or another gang or persons unknown. I mean, she could have hitchhiked. Well, I mean, Taylor says that he dropped her off safe and sound. I mean, I suppose it's possible that she even hitchhiked back to Greymouth and then got murdered and taken back to the Arthur's Pass, but this is extremely unlikely. But now let's recap from what we know from these articles and then read some more. Lisa Blakie, originally from Timaru, goes to Queenstown, works at Candy's massage parlour. She ends up hooking up with this white power guy from a biker gang, the Evil Henchmen. At some point, she goes to a party at the Road Nightmare gang pad, but I seriously doubt this has anything to do with what the murder's all about. Something bad is going to go down in Queenstown, and she decides to boost. Now, I wish I knew more about what this Queenstown problem was, and whether it does or does not tie in with Candy's massage parlour, but I don't know. That's just basically something she said to a friend, that she didn't want to be part of this, whatever was going on in Queenstown. Anyway, February 6, Waitangi Day, year 2000. And Lisa gets found in the Porters River, pinned down with a big rock that weighs 104 kg. She's been strangled and has 7 stab wounds to her left leg. I'm unsure whether a sex assault has taken place. Now let's just pause for a moment. WTF is going on where a girl gets stabbed 7 times but only to her left leg? I mean, for me, this is the biggest piece of evidence to suggest more than one killer. I mean, well, that and the rock. But anyway, I want to discuss this, as nobody in the articles I've read, podcasts I've watched, etc. is trying to figure this one out. I mean, I can only imagine a couple of blokes, possibly women, we don't know for sure, but a couple of people are pinning her down on her top half, and her legs are kicking, and another person with the knife stabs her 7 times in the left leg, because she's being pinned down onto her right side. That's the only scenario that fits. Now, if it was Timothy David Taylor acting alone, then he must have stabbed her after she was already dead. That's the only reasonable way it could go down like that. I mean, if they were in a struggle and Taylor had the knife, well, I would expect him to stab her in the chest, or the face, neck, head, something like that, you know. Maybe stab her in the back. Suppose he could stab her in the belly, but not 7 stab wounds to the left leg. That's weird as. I mean, think about it, people. If you're watching my obscure YouTube channel, then you're probably subscribed to a lot of true crime shows, I'd say. At least 5 or 6, I'd imagine. Have you ever heard of a case where the victim is stabbed 7 times in the left leg and nowhere else on the body, arms, or head? Because I sure haven't. I mean, is that something they do in Timaru if they think you're a police informant or something? Stab people 7 times in the left leg? Plus, if it was Taylor and they were fighting in the car, I mean, if anything, he would be stabbing her in the right leg. As in New Zealand, almost all cars have the driver's seat on the right and the passenger seat is on the left. So she'd be sitting on his left, so her left leg would be as far away from him. You get what I mean anyway. But none of this is relevant, as no blood was found in Taylor's car. It was the Crown's theory that he chased her down by the river, and that's why there was no blood found, because the river washed it away. I'm not really sure. The Crown's theory doesn't really make much sense. It's just, Yeah, anyway, moving on from this bizarre clue that I don't know quite what to make of, let's read another article from NZ Herald, available on nzherald.co.nz. NZ Herald article, Killer's Rape Conviction Revealed. Written on the 9th of May, 2005. www.nzherald.co.nz. A mid-Canterbury man who murdered hitchhiker Lisa Blakie has previously brutally raped another young woman, a secret he kept hidden from the public until now. Timothy David Taylor, 35, of Darfield, was convicted in 2003 of the rape of a Rangiora teenager, but that crime could not be revealed while he tried to overturn his murder conviction. He was found guilty of the murder of Lisa Blakie by a jury in the High Court in Christchurch in April 2002. It was only after his arrest that his young rape victim came forward to report that she too had been a victim of Taylor's violence. When the Court of Appeal rejected Taylor's challenge to his murder conviction this week, the decision also ended an earlier court order preventing the media identifying Taylor as a rapist. The Christchurch District Court jury that found Taylor guilty of rape in 2003 was told the offence had been committed in 1986, but the victim never came forward until she heard a man of the same name and age as her attacker was accused of murder. The victim told the court the impact of the rape when she was 16 had devastated her life, but she tried to put the incident behind her. I personally believe in forgiveness. I thought maybe it was a one-off and he was probably now married with 2 kids and a dog, she had told the court. If he had been married with kids, I'd have left him alone. The murder charge showed that this person was out there doing more of this stuff, and I wanted to help him stop doing this. I wanted to help stop him doing anything else. A jury rejected Taylor's claim the woman had consented to sex on a lonely North Canterbury roadside after she initially rebuffed his advances during a night out. Judge Philip Moran said the rape had a profound effect on the victim. It screwed up her life, he told Taylor as he sentenced him to an additional 4 years on top of the 10-year non-parole period imposed on April 2002 for the murder. Lisa Blakie's father, Doug Blakie, said he was relieved that Taylor's rape conviction could now be revealed so the public would know the full extent of his offending. At the time of the rape conviction, Taylor was also serving a 10-year jail sentence for a series of violent gunpoint robberies committed around the time he strangled Lisa Blakie and left her face down, partially clad in the Porter River beside the Arthurs Pass Highway. Okay, I'm going to cut the rest of the article because it's not really that relevant. I just wanted to read that just to show you what that article says about Timothy David Taylor. I find the armed robbery thing interesting as well, so... I mean, he's a pretty bad dude, you know what I mean? He's not really, what can you say? He's less than ideal, put it that way. I mean, he's capable of doing something like this, but it's also quite likely that he didn't do this, I just don't know. When I say this, I'm referring to the Lisa Blakie murder, not the sex assault of the teenager. And by the way, if anyone out there knows who this person is who got sex assaulted, don't name her in my comments. Say that's really not cool. Just don't do that at all. Yeah, we don't break court suppression orders on this show. Anyway, does anyone else think it's weird that Lisa Blakie's on the run from the evil henchman gang, and then some other bloke picks her up hitchhiking and kills her with no obvious motive? Even if he was an armed robber and a sex offender, I mean, it's a bit of a coincidence, you know what I mean? I mean, unless he's just so psycho that he killed her to get some sicko kicks. I mean, what was his motive here? Or maybe he did sex assault her and then he murders her so she can't ID him. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're talking about here. What happened to Lisa Blakie? I mean, she was totally murdered. That was the only thing I am sure of. So she was either killed by her ex-boyfriend and his gang of evil henchmen, or Timothy David Taylor, or by person or persons unknown, possibly another gang. But could Taylor have sold Lisa Blakie to the henchman gang for a flippin' bag of speed or something ridiculous like that? I mean, I don't see why not. Now, before I make my last point that I wish to mention here, this video does not include all information that has come to light about Operation Porter. There's plenty more to discuss in part 2, like the time of death, which is disputed by different pathologists, and other problem with the Crown's theory. The theory that it was Timothy David Taylor acting alone. But like I said before, watch Brian Bruce's show about this case. I'll put the link in the description. And then in the future, I'll make an episode unpacking some of the key points that Brian makes. Okay, now I'm going to discuss Oscar Hesselwood in brief, and then read some timelines I got off the Justice for Lisa Blakie Facebook page. Taylor's flatmate, Oscar Hesselwood, the same bloke who gave Taylor a massive hiding means a beating in New Zealand, yeah. So 3 days after Lisa's body was found, Oscar Hesselwood beats up his flatmate Timothy David Taylor. Anyway, this bloke Oscar, well, he knew the evil henchman gang. And not only that, but Lisa Blakie knew Oscar Hesselwood. At least she told her friend in Nelson that she was going to go visit Oscar in Darfield with her boyfriend. Same boyfriend who was in the henchman gang. Now, not a lot of people had cell phones back then, but Lisa Blakie and Timothy David Taylor both did. Lisa would have had one for work. Could Taylor have double-crossed Lisa Blakie and pretended he was texting his girlfriend or something and then send a text to Oscar Hesselwood to tell him that he had the girl the henchmen were after? A sex worker colleague from Candy's massage parlour referred to Lisa Blakie as dizzy. And from what I'm reading, she was into taking pills, benzos and uppers. And I can tell you that kind of carry-on tends to make people pretty big mouth. Maybe Lisa Blakie told Timothy David Taylor that she was on the run from the henchman and didn't click that he was Oscar Hesselwood's flatmate. Now, to my overseas viewers, this might sound like a little bit of a bad movie, but remember, it's actually a pretty small world down here in New Zealand. Now, I'm sure Pip Hall, Taylor's lawyer, would disagree with me. But fuck him. For me, this is the most likely scenario that fits with the evidence available on the internet. So now let's read these timelines that I got off the Justice for Lisa Blakie Facebook page. First, we're going to read timeline 4, 28th of January to morning 30th of January. 28th of January, first night at her flat with her brother. Lisa wakes up and goes to Willie's flat in Arthur Street to collect the video recorder and tapes to return to the shop. She then goes back to her flat. A friend comes round. Lisa told me she had just been to Willie's. She didn't want anything to do with him. There inside, Chaos went outside to the backyard. So Chaos is Lisa Blakie's dog. A few minutes later, Lisa's looking for Chaos. He was missing. The girls search everywhere. Streets, park, radio station calls. Lisa was really upset. Lisa started to get texts to give Willie a call. She didn't want to. Willie's friend. I was walking home from PD and found Chaos. I took him home and then around to Willie's in Arthur Street. Lisa's brother. Lisa was at home this night. I had friends over. She just stayed in her room. She was upset that Chaos was missing. I just want to briefly point out Arthur Street is not in the Arthur's Pass. This is referring to Timaru, I believe. January 29th. Chaos still missing. Lisa trying to avoid Willie. Lisa at her flat. A friend drops by and takes her to the shops for a coffee. She told me Chaos was missing, and that she was trying not to have anything to do with Willie. Later this day, Lisa gets a call from another friend to come over to their place that night for a party. Lisa turned up at 10 p.m. She had been looking for Chaos. She tells me she was with Willie over Christmas. He was spending all her money and demanding sex off her, and he was scaring her. Lisa stays here for the night. 30th of January, morning, Chaos still missing. This morning, Lisa gets a message that Willie has found Chaos, the dog, at his place. Lisa's friend, Willie, said a friend of his found it at the park and he took it from there. I think that is rubbish. We looked straight away. I think Willie took it. Another friend of Lisa's. Lisa told me that she went to Arthur Street to get Chaos. Since Willie had found it, she went inside the flat. He started hounding her for sex. She wouldn't give it to him. He starts telling her she's his missus. Doug, on the way home on the south side of Burnham, saw 3 bikes heading north. They were speeding. Thought to himself, I hope no one has followed. Hang on, this one's off the next article. Right, so that's the whole of that timeline. I know this stuff reads quite badly, but it's just, I don't want to change the words so that it sounds better when I read it out loud. I'm just reading it word for word. This is a timeline here, but anyway, like I said, check it out for yourselves on the Justice for Lisa Blakie Facebook page. So now this is timeline 7, Tuesday the 1st. Lisa leaves Timaru to Christchurch. Willie, Slippery, Queenstown work, Fish, and Logan are looking for Lisa. Lisa phones her father from her friend's house in Timaru. Friend C overhears Lisa on the phone to her dad. I've got to go. I've got to get out of here in 10 minutes. Just wake up. Just wake him up, or I'll go right now. I'm running out of time. Doug was woken up to a phone call from Lisa. She was on the phone crying and terrified. He had to get... just had to get out of Timaru. So Lisa had to get out of Timaru is what she was saying on the phone. Doug goes to the friend's house. Only there 2 minutes. No discussion of where they are heading. Lisa was crying. They're going to get me. We have to leave immediately. Phone call, friend in Nelson. Lisa rang and said her car had broken down. Could I let them know? In Greymouth, she wouldn't be there today. Going to Christchurch. Friend Jay in Christchurch, 11 a.m. Just getting up when Lisa rang to see if she could stay a few hours night. She sounded freaked out about something. She was going to get a hiding. Doug, about Hines. Lisa phoned a girl friend Jay to see if she could stay the night. And now it's Tuesday the 1st, 12:30 to 3:30 hours. Lisa now in Christchurch. Tries to get shuttle to Greymouth. Arrive in Christchurch just after midday. Oh, this is Doug. So this is Lisa's dad. Arrive in Christchurch just after midday. Lisa phones the girl again. Drops Lisa off at the girl's flat. And then heads back to Timaru. During this time that Lisa's at Christchurch at a friend's flat, she receives 4 phone calls from an unidentified number. 021. I better not put the number in my show, but anyway, this number, after all searches and requests from friends, remains unidentified. One of the calls was over 8 hours, 15 minutes long. Who was it? not a friend or family. Doug, on the way home on the south side of Burnham, saw 3 bikies on bikes heading north. They were speeding, he thought to himself. I hope no one has followed them. Logan phones Lisa. She's now with Willie and Slippery. So Logan must be a female, not Lisa's with them. Anyway, these people are looking for Lisa. And they call at 2:31. 4 hours, 44 minutes long. It might be 4. I'm not sure if that's correct. It can't be a 4-hour phone call. Anyway, Willie withdraws $592 from a bank in Timaru. Lisa phones for a taxi and goes to Christchurch Cathedral Square to catch a shuttle to the coast. Witness, coach driver. I saw Lisa sitting in the square. She looked cold and had a dog wrapped in a blanket. She asked if he was going to the coast. He said no, he didn't think she would get on with the dog. Tuesday the 1st, Timaru. Willie, Slippery and Logan looking for Lisa. 4:30. Lisa's brother comes home after work. No one there. Doug turns up and tells him not to tell anyone where Lisa is. 4:53. Arthur Street. Calls Lisa's phone. She doesn't answer it. 6:30. Willie, a gang associate, and Logan get a taxi to Lisa's flat in Timaru. Willie and a mate stay in the car. Logan goes inside and asks Lisa's brother, where is Lisa? Lisa's brother. Logan turns up and asks where Lisa is, and Willie was in the car. I tell her I don't know. She takes a bottle of alcohol. Around 6 o'clock, Willie and Logan are still looking for Lisa in Timaru. They make numerous calls, many to Doug's address. One friend accidentally tells them where Lisa has gone, Christchurch. After this call, there are numerous calls between Arthur Street, Lisa's work in Queenstown Fish, and a gang associate in Christchurch, who is a very good mate of O. So that's the end of those timelines. Yeah, that was pretty interesting. So they're definitely looking for her, if those timelines are accurate, which they probably are. I'm not sure if Bridget McMinimum got them off the police. I don't know where that came from. But yeah, it's pretty strange, don't you think, that sort of these people are out trying to get her, and then some other bloke ends up getting her for no real reason. I think it's weird anyway. But, you know, there's plenty of unknown in this case. Tell me what you think in the comments section. There's more stuff to this case as well, but I'm going to discuss that in another video because this is getting pretty long. So stay tuned for that. And have a good one, everybody. All the best.